Hello everyone, welcome to Distilling Canada. So it's been a while. I have been terribly busy, and I do apologize. I felt bad for actually, essentially abandoning this channel for the last year. But unfortunately the distillery came first, and the COVID scare and our production of sanitizer was paramount in what we had to do. So something had to give. Unfortunately, the exit strategy for my main job didn't happen. Once again, that's a sanitizer production issue. So I still work 10-hour days at my regular job, and then I come and do another 6 hours at the distillery every day. And on the 2 days I have off, I'm spending 16 hours a day trying to catch up and do the still runs and everything else. A spirit run here takes 8 to 10 hours. So that can be a whole day pretty quick, and we don't leave them unattended. So something had to give, and it had to be the YouTube channel for the time being. We are in a position now where we are freeing up a bit of time, although I am still doing 10-hour shifts, 5 days a week. So bear with us. We are trying to get on track. We're trying to do our best to get here. And today, what we're going to do is we're going to catch up on where we left off. I have a few interviews. I've got a few other things in the laptop that we're going to work on. But we left off with our bourbon. And what we're going to see today is making the mash and getting it into the still and running it in the still. And the next one should be, hopefully, it'll be a matter of, what the final working of that bourbon will be. So, without ado, let's move on. So let's get started with the doing the mash. We are using flaked corn, which is already pre-gelatinized at the mill. They use a steam process in the roller mill, and they create the corn that you're going to see. Right now, once you learn how to open these bags, you just undo the knot at the end and you pull one string, the whole bag opens. It's pretty easy. Sometimes it takes a bit to learn. So you can see the corn as I bring it up, and there it is. You can see that it is rolled quite thinly. That opens it right up. Makes for a great conversion. Typically, you don't have to run it up to a gelatinized phase, but because we're using a high temp amylase from Lillemand, we actually have to run this up to 185 degrees anyway, so that gelatinizes anything that was missed in the beginning from the mill. So now we're already got the mash tun run up in temperature, and it is now time to add in the corn. Now in this, I've already added the barley and the rye, and you open this up. Now I no longer have this scaffolding. I actually have a far better unit. My hands aren't the most functional, so it's a bit of a daunting task to lift all this up. And I had quite a few bags to this, so and it's just that simple as to pour it in. And you can see I haven't got them all in here yet, but I've gotten a few. And trying to get the fog not to get onto the camera lens is a little bit hard. But you can see it's pretty liquidy. Once again, it's not full of the corn yet. And here I go. Yeah, I just sped this up a bit. You don't want to be watching me jump up and down this thing too much. So we have a few bags to go in, and I didn't record everything I dumped into here, just a few. And yeah, I've lost a lot of weight since I did this filming. It's been going up and down a lot. So during the sanitizer runs, you wouldn't even be able to see this because all the
fermenters I brought in, it was just completely hidden. So now we bring in my wife Lisa, and Lisa is my second hand. She knows as much about this as I do, and we are both learning this whole journey together. So while I'm filming, she's going to come up and she's going to put in the amylase. We've already done a protein rest, and we brought the whole mash up to 185 degrees. And now she's adding the alpha amylase by Lallemand, and that gets into there. And here's me being stupid and trying to get a nice good picture for you folks while she goes and gets some more water. I stick my foot on the mash tun. You know, it does no harm. It's more than strong enough, but yeah, could have slipped off pretty easily, so I'll know better next time. So you can see how the mash is, you know, fairly thick at this point. It's been running for a little bit while we ramp the temperature up after the protein rest. And as Lisa's adding, and now she's rinsed out the graduated cylinder, she's finishing this, you can see it foaming up a bit, and it's actually breaking the starches down right in front of our eyes. It's going from a thick solution to quite a thin one. And when she's done, when we're done at the end of 90 minutes now, it's going to run for 90 minutes at this temperature, then it's almost a pure liquid, and it's very easy to move over to mash tun. So we've already fermented it out, so now I'm going to open up the valve from the fermenters, and I've opened up the fermenter that I want, and I think it was fermenter 3, but look at that. And then we direct the pump to go right to one of the stills, and we're actually going to go with still 2, so I just turned the pump on. Our stills are called Bob and Doug, and for a specific reason, we're Canadian, why not? And you can see the mash moving into the still after being fermented. Now we don't separate out the yeast at this point. There is quite a cake that'll be left in the fermenter, and you can see that all the line is cleaned up now. We're just getting the pure mash coming in. This mash is sitting about 10%. And now I've turned on the mixer motor. We run the mixers the whole time we're fermenting. It makes a huge difference for us. We've done several tests without and with, and we find that because we're using a wide pot belly still, there's actually a 20-degree difference from the center to the outside edge. And although we're not worried about scorching, it's a steam heated unit, we do know that this just homogenizes the whole mash, and we can actually see quite a difference when we're in full running mode. We see quite a difference of what it looks like and what the goes into the towers with and without it. So we just keep it going. It works so much nicer. So we're getting to the end now. The fermenter is empty. There's a huge yeast cake in the end that once the still starts warming up, I'm actually going to go back and pressure wash and sanitize the fermenter out. And that just opens right up to a drain in the floor, and makes life nice and easy, just a pressure washer. Now we have the still warming up, and it takes about an hour to get up to temperature, maybe a bit longer. As you can see, the mixer's still going, and it's starting to bubble a bit. Now, when this is at up to temperature, it does actually rotate itself with the heat, but using the mixer, once again, it saves us a lot, and it works it a little bit faster. We've already started the tower to get it warmed up, get it a uniform temperature, and that's when we'll switch over. The condenser's probably running, the flag is running full open, so that we're knocking everything down. This is just the early stages of the still run. And you can see how the alcohol is dropping down again. So we'll load these plates up, get the still uniform, and it's already starting. As you can see, there will be a little bit of drip, and that's going to be our 4 shots. So we're collecting that right out of the bottom of the parrot. We don't want this anywhere near our tank, so this just goes right through. So the plates are loaded. We don't load them heavy. We try to keep them down pretty close to this level, maybe a bit more. And everything's bubbling away nicely. You gotta have that nice, shot of everything going. Everybody gets excited seeing these. And when we do distillery tours, when we get to do them again after the COVID, that's what our customers get to see during the tour. We collect into this tote. Now we have 2 of these totes. They both have mixers into them. When we're doing large batches of a liqueur or a gin or something, we will use these as and mix right in them. So you can see the alcohol pouring out, and that's just connected by a hose right to the parrot. Just makes it a whole lot easier for us. This spirit, we're doing a bourbon style, so we're typically going to run it off the still about 62 to 75% alcohol. And we try to keep it in that range. Nice thing about this setup is we can dial in what range we want, just controlling the water flow.
So we're at the end of this, and we started this about a year ago, a little over a year ago. We designed the recipe, and essentially we used the Eagles Rare recipe as well as the Antique 107. So we made two separate matches, and as you see, we ran them. Now, that was, once again, over a year ago, and we had 5,000 liters of whiskey ready to be barreled. It was all in our storage tote. And due to the sanitizer need and the outcry for it, and our barrels hadn't arrived yet for us to actually move from the totes into the barrel, we ended up using all the whiskey and turning it into sanitizer. Yes, it damn near shed a tear on me. Then we went through a very hard time of making sanitizer. The hours were endless. We're 18-hour days. I slept here. Actually, there's pictures of me sleeping under the stills. At one point in time, we had 26 fermenters going, and all the breweries brought in totes of beer that we had to run and turn into sanitizer. So pretty much everything got used up. It wasn't until the fall of last year that we were actually able to get back into, this recipe and start making something for our barrels. We now have 10 barrels made, and this has sat for, a couple of months now into some small casks. So this allows us to do a bit of a quick aging in a barrel. These little guys do fairly well. They are new. This is their first fill, so they're taking a little bit of time. But we have them, and we can check. Now there's 220 liter barrels sitting over there in the bonded room, and they're there just to age for 3 years. In Canada, we must age our whiskey to legally call it whiskey for 3 years. So that takes a while. But with the little guy, we can at least run it up quicker and get an idea of where we are with flavor. So we have the little one here, and this one's just a little bit bigger. And now I should have probably used a clean straw again, but stainless steel is not too bad. So, and these will continue to age. I want to get them about 6 to 8 months, and then get an idea what our final is going to be. The color on both is, a little bit darker on this one. And they're filled about the same, I think they were filled the same day. So that's the two different recipes. This one being the 107, this one being the Eagle Rare style. Now once again, we have a different yeast and a different process, everything else, so it's not exact. The mash is close and the flavors are close. And once again, once we get the aging, we'll know where we are at the final. But this one here, now this is my first try with this since I actually put it in the barrel. We barreled these at 62, both of them are at 62%. So, that's got a really nice flavor. The wood's still a little bit young, so you taste that, of course. There's quite a bit of, and it could be the barrel, quite a bit of sweetness into it. Nothing wrong with that. That's actually, that looks like it's going to have a good future to it. I don't have any water close to me, or else I'd rinse, but this has far more caramel on the nose, and I'm getting, yeah, sweetness for sure. Honey, caramel. There is a bit of a spice note in there. Oh, this one's by far better. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm quite happy with this too. I think a little bit more time on that will be fantastic. So you've seen the process, and because of how busy we were and everything else, I didn't end up actually doing a video with me talking during it, so that's why we had to listen to all the narration I just did. So this brings us to the end of this series, the Bourbon series. We've enjoyed it. It's been an eventful year, and I apologize for being so interrupted. You know, I still, in opening a distillery, and you've watched all the work I've done with this, in opening this, there is quite a bit of unexpected things. My plan for the first year basically got thrown out the window. We were open for 2 weeks, and in that 2 weeks, we made, you know, we had 6 products on the shelf, and we were doing fairly well. We had a lot of people coming, but then the sanitizer, the COVID hit. We got a lockdown in Ontario, Canada. And we switched over to sanitizer, and it just was crazy after that. Now, the advantage for me is having a new still system, learning it and everything else. That happened in a very quick time. What is unfortunate is that we had planned an exit strategy. Most of the sanitizer we made, we donated to hospitals and frontline workers. That came out of pocket. So my exit strategy from my employment didn't happen. So I'm still doing 10-hour days there, and it's an hour drive each way. So that's 12 hours a day, and then I'm doing another 6 to 8 hours here at the distillery. And on the 2 days I have off, I'm pulling 16 to 18-hour days. And that's fine. That's, you know, that's part of opening a distillery. You have to roll with it. So it's an all-in thing. I've slept here a lot, slept under the stills. There are pictures. So it's been kind of entertaining. And you know what? I'm still smiling, still having fun. So, and that's what it's all about. Is this the way you want to live your life? It is definitely a hard way to go. It's a lot of work. And if you're enjoying it, that's great. These 2 barrels here, they'll keep on going. Let us know how things progress down the road, and then we'll see how the large barrels go. Now, the larger barrels that I've used are first fill, they're second fill ex-bourbon barrels from Heaven Hill Distillery. And they do impart their own little flavor into there as well. So it's going to be unique to see what we get out of the large barrels. Having the distillery, 5 months of heavy sanitizer production, and we were going non-stop. The stills were constantly running. We came into the fall, and the one thing we always wanted to do was an advent calendar. So if you see behind me here, you see all the little 50 mils. We actually did an advent calendar. Now, it was the company we had hired to make the boxes didn't make it through the COVID, the first round, and we gave up on it until the last week of October. We had a fellow walk through the door who was able to make the boxes in quick order, as well as the plastic tray. So we ended up getting that done, and on the second week in November, we ordered in all the 50 ml bottles. We were filling, and the wife looks at me, and you know, one thing I wanted to make sure was that we never did a repeat in the calendar. So it had to be 24 individual flavors. By that time, we had already had quite a few, but I needed 6 more new flavors for the calendar. And I got left alone for a day. And when the wife came in the next day, we had 11 new flavors made. and she had to choose the 6. And we had some pretty interesting new flavors, like we had butter rum, the fluffer nutter, the lemon drop, a few of the Christmas ones. We had a great pumpkin pie, a nutcracker, which is a gingerbread style. And over the year, as well as doing the sanitizer, I was making up some mashes and turning them into sanitizer, but I wasn't doing straight sugar washes. I still wanted to try and utilize that period of time to develop some new ones. So one of the ones that we did develop was our Sterling Vodka. The Sterling Vodka is probably, I think this is about the 8th or 9th batch that we nailed it down to get right. So this is primarily a barley with corn and rye. It's a very, it's distilled, we strip it, load it again, and then we distill it at 95%. It is a fantastic vodka. It's smooth, it's simple, it's not a sugar wash like a lot of vodkas are. So it isn't all green, and it makes a huge difference. We also came in with our newest one, is our 100% rye. This is, we're calling it a white rye. We can't call this a whiskey in Canada until it's sat in a barrel for 3 years. But we can legally call it a white rye. And this is kind of unique. It's 100% rye. We don't have any pickle notes into it, which is typical of a rye. It's kind of nice and clean. We proofed it down to 90 proof, and we're putting on the shelf at that. The unique thing about this rye is the fact that because it doesn't have the wood influence onto it yet, and we have it's barreled over in the next room, the bottom of the room, without the wood influence, we're finding this far more versatile. You can enjoy it all on its own as a white rye, or mix it with anything. Without the wood influence, it really does lend itself to a great mixer. Of course, we have our White Lightning, that's still around, and quite a few new flavors on the table. We are running 4, 8, 12, 16 flavors right now. This is our core at the moment. We will be adding a few more, and the next series you're going to see, hopefully we stay on track now, but the next series we're planning on is a gin series, and we're going to start at the very beginning, and we're going to show you the botanicals as well as the amounts that you can use to create your own flavors, and some neat little tips and tricks to get along with that. Thank you for joining in. It's been, and I apologize once again profusely, with all the hours that were necessary for the distillery and work, there wasn't anything left for my YouTube channel. And it's unfortunate that I had to let that one slide, but it was the one that is an indulgence for me. I enjoy doing this. I enjoy sharing this with you folks, and I hope to keep it up. Let's see if I can keep on track now and at least do 1 episode a week. Some are going to be just simple interviews in order, for me to, when I'm doing an interview one, usually I'm working on a bigger one in the background. So, indulge me with those as well. So, thank you again, and we will see you on the next episode of Still in Canada.